If you don't watch this until the end, you might repeat the same mistake millions of people are making right now. You think you're losing money because of the market? You're not. You're losing because you don't understand what's really happening. While you panic when prices drop, someone else is quietly buying. While you hesitate and wait, someone else is preparing for something much bigger. And here's the unsettling truth. Both of you are in the same market, but the outcome will be completely different. This video is not about telling you when to buy or sell. It's about something far more dangerous. How the market makes you give up your own assets without even realizing it. And if you see this clearly, you'll never react like the crowd again. The world feels chaotic. Information is everywhere, contradicting itself, changing by the hour. One day, there is fear. The next day, there is hope. And you try to make sense of it all. But nothing seems to follow a clear logic. But here is what most people don't realize. The chaos is not the problem. Your need for certainty is. In recent weeks, the market has moved sharply. Gold and silver have risen again. Strongly. Then pulled back. Then pushed higher once more. Not in a straight line. Not in a way that feels comfortable. And that is exactly what confuses the crowd. When prices fall, they panic. When prices rise, they hesitate. They are pulled back and forth between fear and doubt. And in that constant reaction, they lose control. Look closer. Fuel prices rise, people grow anxious. Markets fluctuate, people grow afraid. News conflicts, people lose direction. But those who understand the nature of things do not seek stability in the external world. They understand this. The world will always move. But your mind does not have to move with it. This was never really about whether gold or silver will rise or fall. It is about something deeper. When everything around you shakes, can you remain still? Because if you are not prepared, you will be carried away. Not by the market, but by your own reactions to it. You may think things are getting better. Maybe tensions will ease. Maybe prices will drop. Maybe the situation will stabilize. But understand this. What you are seeing is only temporary movement, not true stability. Prices fall, and you feel relieved. But the effects of what already happened do not disappear that easily. Costs rise quickly, but they rarely fall the same way. A small increase in fuel spreads quietly through everything. Food becomes more expensive. Daily life becomes heavier. And even when fuel drops again, those prices remain. This is the nature of the world. What rises slowly becomes permanent. What falls rarely returns things to how they were. And yet, people still react only to what is happening right now. They see a short-term drop and believe the pressure is gone. They see a small recovery and think everything is safe again. But the deeper forces are never that simple. Even in the market, movements are not driven by logic alone. A single piece of news can shift everything in an instant. Not because it changes reality, but because it changes perception. And perception is what moves the crowd. There is something even more dangerous. Important news often arrives when you cannot act. At the end of the week, when the market is closed, you see it, you feel it, but you cannot respond. Then the market opens and moves without you. Some panic and sell too early. Some freeze and cannot act at all. And by the time they react, it is already too late. The market does not wait for your emotions. It moves, whether you are ready or not. And here is the pattern most never see. People sell in fear, right before the market rises. They cut losses, only to watch prices climb without them. They hesitate, until confidence returns. And then they buy at the worst possible moment. It is not information that destroys them. It is their reaction to it. In times like this, information is everywhere. But clarity is rare. So the real question is not, will the market go up or down next? The real question is, can you remain steady when everything around you is designed to shake you? Because if you cannot, you will keep reacting, keep chasing, keep losing, not to the market, but to the illusion that you are in control. You were taught that markets follow logic, that events lead to predictable outcomes. War happens. Gold should rise. Crisis appears. Safe assets should increase. But reality does not move that way. War breaks out, and prices fall, not slightly, but violently, deep enough to shake your confidence, deep enough to make you give up. And when things begin to stabilize, prices rise again. The market is not wrong. Your expectations are. And that gap is where most people lose their direction. They begin to doubt their knowledge, their decisions, and eventually, themselves. They watch every small movement, trying to make sense of it. Oil rises, they panic. Prices fall, they still panic. But what they fail to understand is this: not every short-term movement carries long-term meaning. And more importantly, nothing grows in perfect calm. Every rise comes with resistance, with volatility, with pressure, not to destroy the market, but to remove those who cannot endure it. And this is where a harsh truth reveals itself. The market is not just a place to make money. It is a place where wealth is transferred. Wealth does not disappear. It simply moves from the impatient to the patient, from the emotional to the disciplined. And the most unsettling part is this: this transfer happens completely by choice. No one forces you to sell. No one pushes you out. But fear does. You enter the market with conviction, with a plan, with belief. Then the price drops deep enough to make you question everything. You hesitate. You lose sleep. You start looking for an exit. And eventually, you sell. In that moment, you don't just sell an asset. You hand it to someone else. Someone calmer. Someone clearer. Someone who did not react the way you did. That is the transfer of wealth. And in this cycle, many are going through it right now. Their assets are not gone. They simply were not strong enough to hold on to them. There is a pattern that repeats itself endlessly. When the market falls, people say, "Never talk to me about this again." They walk away with frustration, with fear. But then, when prices return, when new highs are reached, those same people come back. They buy again, at higher prices, with stronger conviction. And then, another wave of volatility hits. They sell again. And the cycle continues. The market has not changed. Human behavior has not changed. This is why the market does not just move. It transfers. No one forces you to sell. No one pushes you out. But fear does. It makes you act at the worst possible moment. You sell when you can't take it anymore. You leave when your belief collapses. And in that exact moment, you are not just selling an asset. You are handing it to someone else. Someone calmer. Someone clearer. Someone who did not react the way you did. That is the transfer of wealth. The market will always move. Up, then down. Down, then up again. But with every movement, the weak leave. The steady remain. You see prices rise. You feel hope. You see prices fall. You feel fear. And you react. Again and again. But those who win do not react this way. They understand something very old, yet very real. When fear spreads, opportunity appears. Not because the market becomes easier, but because the crowd has given up. Throughout history, this has always been the case. When everything feels uncertain, when confidence disappears, when people sell in desperation, there is always another group, acting in silence. No noise. No emotion. No urgency. They do not seek certainty. They simply refuse to be controlled by emotion. And that is the difference. On one side, fear. On the other, greed. Both can destroy you, if you cannot control them. And the hardest part is not understanding the market. It is mastering yourself. Because in times like these, nothing feels clear. There will be false breakouts, false breakdowns. Confusion grows. Direction fades. But remember this: not everything you see requires a reaction. If you don't understand, you act. If you act, you make mistakes. So before trying to control the market, learn to control yourself. In the end, what makes you lose money is not the market. It is the way you react to it. When you focus on the short term, your emotions take control. You panic and sell. You become greedy and buy at the top. That is not logic. That is emotion. The market will continue to move. Not once, but again and again. There will be sharp drops. There will be sudden rises. There will be moments when you feel like you can't take it anymore. But understand this: these movements are not here to destroy you. They are here to test you. Those who endure, remain. Those who cannot, leave. And the cycle continues. You may watch the market rise, but you are no longer part of it. Not because you had no opportunity, but because you could not endure the journey. The truth is, the path upward is never a straight line. It rises through doubt. It rises through fear. It rises through moments when you want to give up. And very few people make it to the end. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack opportunity. But because they cannot master themselves. The market will always create illusions. False breakouts. False breakdowns. It confuses you. It takes away your sense of direction. But remember this: not everything you see requires a reaction. If you don't understand, don't act. If you act without clarity, you will pay the price. Because in the end, this game is not about who is smarter. It is about who is more disciplined. The world may change. The news may be chaotic. But there is one thing you can always control: yourself. And when you master that, the market no longer becomes something you fear. It becomes a mirror, reflecting who you truly are.